All right, now we'll be back from the break. You're still watching Smart Means Business. Our developing story takes us to the case in point in regards to the Katonga floods. There's an experienced contractor who has been given, the job, the contract to handle the floods, to cover up, as the alternative routes need to be made easier. I hear now movement to Mbarara is taking quite some good hours, simply because of the alternative routes that were put aside because of this same.
I think for normally the journey has been taking like 4 hours, but now I think it's taking 6 hours. And the fact that we are preparing for school-going children, there has to be effective planning so that we have this ready. I mean, you can imagine a child from Kampala heading to Western Uganda, and it will take a days long. Cases like for Kabale. I mean, it's a 7 hour journey. Imagine.
People actually move every morning from Masaka to Kampala to come and work. So you come to think of it, it's making business really hard for most of the people. Imagine people who have been working at Lukaya, for example. they used, all that is something that we need to think of. But in the developing story here, we have Honorable Katumba Amala, Minister of Works and Transport. He was appearing before Parliament yesterday on the matter to do with the Katonga floods and the bridge that was washed away. We have details.
Right Honorable Speaker and members, yes, the issue of Katonga is a concern because this is our main trunk road. It manages manages our not only internal trade but also external trade. And we have instructed him to do this in 3 phases. Phase 1, we will create an avenue to enable the small vehicles, border borders, and pedestrians. That is his first priority. After that, as he does that, we'll also create a bypass, and then we do a full redesigning of the bridge, so that it comes up with a more resilient bridge for that position. That is for the main road. For Kabula Soke Karungu, we also have another contractor. That one's a local contractor who is addressing that issue, but of course is still challenged with the volume of water in that section because Choja overflowed, and also because of that, that's why Katonga was also affected. So the contractor is assessing to see how much can be started and done, but please appreciate that you can't just, because this is not a culvert crossing, this is a bridge. No, we are doing Matete, Sembabule, there's also a contractor who is also on that section. In terms of trying to alleviate the transport challenges, we have put another alternative for people traveling from Masaka. You take Bukakata Road, which is just 5,000 shillings and 30 kilometers. You pick a ferry at 15,000. So you don't need to spend 100. And this one we are putting it up, especially for the children who are going back to school this weekend. We are putting there that provision to enable the children from Masaka or that direction, and also from Kampala into that direction, to use that as an alternative route.
By the look of things, Massey works for the government. You did mention that they have to put an alternative route for for students going back to school this weekend. And the state minister has also mentioned the fact that they have to make sure that they ease the transportation during this week as they look for a permanent solution to the Katonga Bridge.
Definitely, I concur with him because now imagine, like I said, like there are some students who come from this central region crossing over to western region. Just imagine, I was giving an example of Kabale, a 7-hour journey. Imagine at the time that the student reaches school, that means they have to make a stopover in Bara, have a sleepover there, and then proceed their journey,
more costs there,
which is more costly, and of course business.
Yeah. And I think for the business part of it, most of the businesses, and for the people who have actually been getting goods, agriculture products from the West, and of course, there's some delay now in time due to the same factor, due to the floods here. Andrew, you know, when you come to think of this transportation, as we even dive deeper in our business insight, the issue to do with transportation and how it affects business is now being felt really.
Yeah, you see, I don't want to look at the road itself being in a bad state, but it all comes back to policies. Last week we talked about procurement, and we said, how come that till this end we don't have companies, local companies that we can contract to really build huge, such huge projects like that. Other than that, we have to wait for another contractor, and which is it's lengthy. In other words, there is some sort of red tape. You have to approve this, you have to do this, and all this. Because this is a foreign contractor that is coming in here. But you see, if you have empowered citizens to start up these farms, which provide the services to the citizens, you find that there is going to be ease. Because first of all, these expatriates are quite expensive. That's the first place. That is revenue that is moving out of there. Also accompanied with how, money is going to be spent. But also remember, on those days, come Monday, it's going to be, I don't know what's even going to happen there. And that is going to affect the velocity of money. So don't be surprised when there is some kind of scarcity of food in the coming 2 weeks, because when these students are going back, not all of them report on Monday. Some go to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That of course it won't be. It will be temporal, but don't be surprised. This is just a prediction. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but don't be surprised that there is delay. You go to a market, they tell you we are still waiting for the trucks to bring food. So, and that is not good. On top of that, that means you are freezing the circulation of money, and you've spent money, and the money you've spent is not going to the economy, it's moving out. So even the money which would have come in so fast to replace that in the short, because the faster the money is replaced according to the one which has gone out of the economy, well, that is fair, that is a fair growth. But now money is invested in, the expatriate is taking it back to his country, and the economy has frozen. Why? You're constructing a road, something which would have. It is okay if the transport is frozen for 2 days or 3 days, but when the money is still coming back to Uganda, it's a Ugandan company getting this contract. That's how I see things. Yeah. It would be okay.
But I think, but look at things, it's highly expected this time around. It may be a Ugandan contractor, but, well, we are waiting to see.
Let's wait and see.
Which contractor that is, because he's actually saying an experienced contractor. But now our focus stands to the SMB Insight this morning, which is also into the transportation sector. But this time around, speaking innovation in transportation, as we are trying to cope up with the ever-evolving trends in innovation and technology. What do we have in our transportation, Andrew? Because this is something that we want to look at. We've seen different trends in how best you can access transportation. For example, with just your smartphone, you can order for a ride, be it a car or a vehicle. You can order for anything and it's delivered. I think these are some of the, some of the trends in transportation, right?
Definitely.
True. Yes, of course, we shall say thanks to the information age, the IT, like I said, which has made this so interesting. But there are two aspects here which I want to differentiate, which I believe we need to also look into considerably. Because most of our innovations in Africa and Uganda, there is a difference between information technology and science and technology. Those are two different aspects. And we seem to be so much dwelling on information technology, because we know this is just how you relay information, information sending, receiving message, like instructions, receiving, acting on the instructions and all that, processing and all that. But then there is this other aspect of science and technology. Now this one goes beyond, because with information technology, you're dealing with an already existing product, but you're just upgrading it in terms of communication, communication. But now here with science and technology, now this is where we talk about that, we have invented a solar engine. We've invented an electric engine, you know, or we are converting. I saw some people that were converting fuel engines to electric. You know, such innovations which are quite very interesting, which something which we need. Because when you look at the current aspects, of course, the global fuel prices, and fuel something which, of course, is not going to last longer. Yes, that is a fact. Because it's very funny is that we Uganda, what we are having hope in is what while other economies are dissecting away from.
Yeah.
You know, that is very absurd. But then that means this brings still another challenge. Because remember, with the intra-African trade, there is going to be mobility of goods, labor from one country to another. And with the excessive use of these combustion engines, it might cause some effect, of course, in the future in the African climate, and something which I don't think the climate change champions will really be able to stand. But what should we have to do in here? Because now, looking at Africa at large, as where we're heading, it brings us back to, as a country, Uganda, okay, if we achieve this, you know, how are we going to fit within here? So we have to upgrade our aspects. And one of the things which really are very key in terms of trade is transport. You know, the further you've innovated your transport system, the better you stand when it comes to being competitive in the market. Because let's talk about delivery of goods. You know, imagine you're using these electric trains. You know,
yes.
Using electric vehicles. I mean, you're not worried because in Africa we have electricity in plenty. You know, we really we need to challenge ourselves. We're developing as Africa, and as Uganda we are coming out, but the stakeholders still will tell you that we have not reached anywhere. You know, and they are blaming this whole entire aspect to the individuals. You know, the Ugandans. I mean, people are too slow to adapt to this, to the technology. There is that sluggishness, but we have no choice. Like I've said, I made a statement in our second update where I said that the thing that humanity has created for itself is that we have IT is a necessity. Even where we are here right now, we have IT gadgets which are enabling us to, you know, have this information and all that. So it's a necessity. So this spreads across all sectors, you know, and the transportation inclusive. But anyway, away from us adopting, now the message to the innovators is that we should try to do some benchmarking. You know, I've seen electric bikes in our country, Uganda. They are there already, though they are scarce. But it would be really much more sensible if we involve ourselves into the manufacture. You know, we had the buses in Kira, you know, electric buses. You know, that is quite a positive aspect, you know, though we are still having issues when it comes to, you know, distributing them to other countries and we start to make money. You know, there are laws you signed when it comes to however much, okay, you can be allowed to have a manufacturing farm, but you being in position to probably distribute your vehicles across probably your neighbors in East Africa. Of course, there are contracts you have to sign with, of course, those other related suppliers from the international aspect, because we are looking at competition here.
Well, of course, and
that is what they fear.
It is something that we need to look at steadily. You know, that's the competition and creating health competition for the entire region. And for that same particular matter, as we speak of the innovation in transportation here in our business insight this morning, we have Kasule Bosco, who is an operations manager of Safe Border, the other, which is also part of the entire innovation in transportation sector, as we try to understand how the tech upgrades need to be focused on or prioritized in order to adapt to the new trends, especially rotating around the transportation sector.
I want to say that we are doing good. The truth is we are left behind as a country, not only in transport but almost every sector. But on behalf of transport, I'm looking at we are seen as people, or we are seen as a country that is I don't know. I think it's because of I us not adopting to new cultures. That's one. Secondly, it's because of it takes long for us as a country to implement new ideas. Even if we look at, like when you see people coming in, I mean, countries coming in with new ideas and innovations, I think as Uganda, we're lacking timely implementations. So I would appeal maybe to the responsibles, let me say Minister of Works and Transport, maybe if they realize that there's something new within the sector, please come to people who can implement, take immediate action, so that we can't be left behind as other people, I mean, as it is seen at the moment. Still, we need more sensitization around everything that is being introduced. For example, currently we have the EV, electric buses, but when you look at the utilization, it is still low. But I think the problem is about like creating awareness around new innovations. If there is a new bus, like for example, we have these EVs, they're only on, I think they're about 7 or 8 around Kampala. With this population having only 8, I think it would be something that would be introduced and being used massively, so that people can get to know. But when we just look at them and we say, hey man, maybe it's not for everyone. Like when you find an EV bus around Northern Bypass, you may think that maybe it's a bus taking people to the, I mean, like authority, I mean, is it those people that who operate from the airport, like things of, I mean, we tend to maybe to think that it's not ours, it's for different people. But if it was introduced and being like spread all over, then it would be a good idea. So it's about sensitization. Yeah. Besides the allocation of resources, who are the right people to implement? Resources might be allocated, but again, along the way, they get lost. We know things like, you know the way Uganda operates. So I think it's better if there are groups of people. For example, take an example of the border industry. As of now, I think Safe Border has done the best. It's best. So I think we are the very people whom they would have consulted before even. What do you think that is needed within that border industry or the transport industry, regardless of where? Because besides us being maybe the leaders in the border industry, but we can as well cater, I mean, we can oversee even from the other side. So I think it's not about allocating, it's all about planning. We need to first plan with the right people, and after then start the implementation. You understand? I think it's all about allocating. I mean, it's not about allocating, it's about planning, because you can't allocate like you've not planned. So it's better you first plan, then after you allocate the necessary resources. As I said earlier, we are still far, we are still behind. I think sensitization can take at least a year, sensitizing about what the new innovations are and what they're meant for. What are the benefits of the new innovations? For example, the EV. Take an example. I personally tried to work with the Kenyans to introduce e-bikes, but I still have challenges. One, clearing one bike at the entry point, it's a challenge. So at that very point, you get demotivated and still think maybe I'm not the right person to introduce this. If I'm the right person, I don't have the right resources. If I talk about resources, that is finance. I'm telling you one thing. If you don't have someone to back up you, like someone in the government to back up your new project, it won't come to pass. I mean, it can't pass. It can't be passed. So I think we need at least a year. We need to give time to the implementers to understand what they have to implement. I think basically, after 3 years, we can start having at least seeing some changes within the sector, but not only in talking, but as well as implementing what we think that can work for the industry.
Well, he did mention he thinks in the next few years there will be some changes within the sector. Transportation, huge opportunity. But the mere fact that the first statement within the insight, he mentions we are lagging behind.
Definitely.
The country is lagging behind.
But that's, I feel like that was as a result of a number of factors you mentioned. Remember towards the last one, he was talking about allocation of resources.
Sure.
And I said it's okay to allocate resources, but whom are you giving these resources to allocate them?
Exactly.
You know, are you giving them to the right people? You know, massive. And so you see all that, you know, because, and actually, let me tell you the truth. The sensitization aspect he's talking about is what we can call advertising. That is the most expensive part when it comes to pushing a project. It's like, you know, it's very easy to manufacture a product, Joram. You develop your app, but the real work comes to sensitization. That is the issue. Me, I can't even say anything. You know, when it talks about money which is being spent, which is being allocated to sensitize people about the upcoming technologies, and that money, because you have to pay the people that are going to be moving by, you're going to have seminars, you know, all that is money. And once it's not there, how are people going to be sensitized? So the bigger issue here is finances. You know, this sensitization coming as other aspects which are affected by allocating resources to the wrong people. You know, and with the technology aspect, we know that people need, you know, these are things which people don't even need to, I mean, people have to be sensitized about technology, whether they like it or not, because people are not aware. You know, this is something, this is not sensitization you can do from a light perspective, that, you know, we had a conference. No, every day on their TVs, on their radio, so that people know, because the earlier they know and adapt to this, you know, the easier we shall be when we start to, you know, enjoy economic benefits, because we know we shall be at par. Because it will be very absurd for some people to be left behind. Because remember, if you are in an economy where some people are up there, these are left behind, of course, crime is inevitable. You know, in such an area, you know, aspects like uprisings. Why? Because certain people are left behind. But, you know, it all starts from these aspects, that the engine which was responsible to make them aware of the coming trends and be a part was destroyed because its potential aspects that are supposed to fuel that engine weren't paid attention to. You know, if you look at things in that perspective.
Well, and I couldn't agree less with what Andrew Berija is actually looking at. Of course, more discussions relating to innovation and, of course, what the government needs to do and to put more focus on the young people is what we are going to be having after the break with our business on ground as well. But I believe the young ones, the youth especially, need to, you know, focus on making sure that they set up these projects for the government to pick up.
Of course, I believe, like he said, this gentleman that said, he said something about when you take initiative as an individual, at times you get disappointed, you know. You start up something, but when you lack backup, it doesn't lead you to anywhere. So there is need for cooperation if we are to set this thing moving. Of course, like the youth now, we have to get more involved in technology because, I mean, this is our generation. We are the millennials, you know, we are into tech more. But it's so disappointing that we use technology for other unnecessary things, actually, which benefit us as individuals, not like in a selfish manner, I should say, not the country as large. So if we use that same knowledge, we use for our own selfish gains, definitely we could do something for our country and, of course, push our economy to greater heights.
Well, of course, the transportation sector in the country is one of those that is actually taking up different trends, with the mere fact that the rise of Uber, Safe Border, Safe Car, name everything, and all of those are into the transportation sector. Those are innovations that we're talking about here as we are continuing with our Wednesday situation when it comes to the startups and entrepreneurship. But as we're heading to a break, remember to grow your investments with the Zabo platforms. Now, an MTN subscriber, wherever you are, you can start investing in government bonds by using *292# as the USSD code and kickstart of your investment journey wherever and whenever you want it to be. Between 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. The minimum amount is 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Kickstart of your investment with the Zabo platform and see how much you can get and see how much and how far you are likely to go. Zabo says, my money, my future, and it's powered by Alltech East Africa, which is there to remind you to do something new. Why not? What something new can you do today? You can choose to invest in government bonds and securities, and it can definitely do well for you. Zabu, My Money, My Future, All Takes East Africa, do something new. Well, we'll return after the break with our SMB on ground discussions. Good morning.